All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the Yreka City Council meeting for April 16, 2024. This is the closed session portion of the meeting. We'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You have the Pledge of Allegiance listed on it?
No, I don't know. Did we?
We don't.
I'm sorry. I was never. I'm just out of I'm just practice, just routine. Sorry. Never mind. We're gonna do it again. It's just habit for me. Total habit. All right. With that, we'll open public comment for closed session. And since there's nobody in the audience and we do not do online, I will close public comment for the closed session. Everybody, welcome to the Yreka City Council meeting for April 16th, 2024. It's now 6:30. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We did have closed session meeting at 5:30 this evening, and Councilman Kaeg did recuse himself due to a disqualifying issue regarding that item that was on the agenda, and he will not be with us this evening as well. So he is absent for tonight's meeting. And no reportable action. Thank you. Okay, so we roll on to number 5. Do we have any special presentations under announcements?
No, Mr. Mayor, not tonight.
All right, thank you. Item number 6, this is public comment. Public participation is welcome and invited to all city council meetings. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the regular agenda. If your comments concern an item noted on the regular agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. The city requests that persons addressing the city refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. Council members recognized by the mayor may ask clarifying questions of the presenter, but no action may be taken by the city council during the public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, the city council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the agenda. If your comments concern an item listed under public hearing or new business section of the agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. Please speak in the microphone from the podium. The podium electronically adjusts up and down to accommodate the speaker. Please state your name for the record, providing your comments. Please address the council as a whole. If you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 7 copies. These become public record. Please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Since council is unable to take action on issues not on the agenda, your matter may be referred to the staff for follow-up or placed on a future agenda. The public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period or conversations with council or city staff. To have public comment at this time.
Lorenzo Love. For once, please do what the overwhelming majority of the citizens want. Bring back Gold Rush days. Nobody likes this Golden City bull.
Okay.
Jan Osborne, good evening to all of you. I want to second what Lorenzo Love just said. Bring back Gold Rush days. And also I'd like to remind you, if you haven't read it yet, that April 22nd, 2024, the United States Supreme Court will consider the constitutionality of local government ordinances regulating the use of public property by homeless people in the case of Grants Pass versus Johnson. This is a very important decision. I will be praying, and I hope you will all pray also, that the court finds in favor of Grants Pass to allow local municipalities and jurisdictions to have control of their public property. While we're on the subject of homelessness, I'm sure you, unless you've been living under a rock the last week or so, you've heard about the $24 billion, what shall I call it, a snafu, by the state of California by failing to track how billions of dollars have been spent to combat homelessness and to track the outcomes of that. I know this is not a question and answer time, but I'm curious and I will be contacting you and hoping someone can give me the information. I'd like to know how much of that 24 billion came to Siskiyou County and specifically Yreka, and what the outcomes were for money that was sent here, usually through grants, and if we've had any positive outcomes because of that money. Thirdly, I want to go back to public comments at your last meeting. I didn't rehearse, so I went along, but medical calls for the fire department. I have requested, and I will keep requesting, that there be a breakdown of the medical calls. It is my understanding that the majority of the calls are not medical emergencies. They're not really true 911 calls. So I would like for the council to let me know or tell me where I can get the information, what the breakdown is of these calls. And also, I would like the council to consider doing a cost recovery fee for some of these calls. If they're doing lift assists and my cat's up the tree and I'm sick and I can't go get it, that's not a medical call. Thank you for your attention, and I hope for some answers.
Right, thank you.
I'm Marie Autry. My voice is really bad, sorry. I want you to think about how long you've been here, your whole life. And for those who you haven't, I would like you to respect those that have. Gold Rush Days has been Gold Rush Days since 1920. And for us to change it, or for Discovery to Siskiyou to change it, just for changing it, is absolutely ludicrous. You allowed them to change it to Heritage Days, which I objected, but if you're gonna do it Heritage Days, maybe a slow gold rush / heritage for a few years, maybe people could get used to it. But Golden City, this is not San Francisco. This is Gold Rush Days. If why do we keep the name Yreka? Let's change the name to Stupidville. I mean, it's getting absolutely ridiculous. And I'm asking you all to make Discovery come back and answer to why they changed the name Gold Rush Days. It is Gold Rush Days, and it needs to stay that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Janet Ling Holland. I'm a proud granddaughter of my grandfather, and this is him, Charles H. Abe Ling. He was the founder of Gold Rush Days, 1932. I'm wearing the same little badge that he had. Everything, and I was just very upset that that the name wanted to change into this. I have a beautiful photo album. And the Heritage Days thing, I believe that the Gold Rush Days showed all the heritages. I have an album full of beautiful pictures of locals from Happy Camp, you know, all over Siskiyou County, Scott Valley. The governor in 1932 of California flew up here to be the Grand Marshal of Gold Rush Days. I think my grandfather is behind me, pushing me, my dad pushing me to do this and to say what I think a lot of people in Yreka that grew up here or have ties to this place would love to have it stay the same. And I appreciate you letting me talk. It's my first time ever doing this. And I just, it's deep in my heart that this man put into what he did to get this going. He also wrote for the papers here in 1932. He had businesses here. My dad had business here. My dad was involved with everything. 50 years of the fire department. My grandfather was a volunteer fireman. My great uncles, my brother, and people still believe that this is a community of togetherness. And I'd like it to stay that way. And I know many, many people would also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. No other public comment. We'll move on to item number 7. This is the consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. A, approval ratification of payments issued from March 25th, 2024 to April 7th, 2024. B, cash balances budget to actual and fiscal performance reports for February 2024. C, approval of minutes of the regular meeting held April 2nd, 2024. D, approval of minutes of the special meeting held April 10th, 2024. E, approval of resolution 2024-16, the city council, the city of Yreka approving downtown Minor Street closures for the special event known as Yreka Farmers Market. F, approval of resolution 2024-17 of the Yreka City Council of the city of Yreka approving salary schedule amendments for the wastewater manager and water manager classifications. G, acceptance of the city of Yreka's audited financial statements for fiscal year 2022-2023. H, adopting resolution 2024-18, city council, the city of Yreka authorizing application for funding, execution of grant agreement and any amendments thereto for the 2025 community project funding grant through Congressman Lamoffa's office. The recommended city council action before you is the motion to adopt the consent agenda of the Yreka City Council of the City of Yreka as presented. A motion from Councilman Baker
The second, Councilwoman Baker.
and a second from Councilman McCoy. I'll do roll call. Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
Councilman Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Baker, Mayor Middleton, aye. The motion passes 4-0. All right. 8, old business, city manager and city attorney. This is the item A, agenda title, ballot measure draft language development. Ballot draft measure language is being presented with the intent to receive feedback and direction on the ballot measure language for introduction at a future city council meeting. Mr. Ledbetter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Yreka City Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager. We're here tonight to kind of go over the history of this conversation. And ultimately, our fire chief met with the volunteers and they unanimously had kind of voted on a couple options that they would like to see the city council consider if the city council were to move forward with a sales tax initiative for the November ballot. And so I just want to kind of really go through this entire staff report that starts on page 218 of your packet and just kind of walk through really the city attorney, Mr. Jared, really was very crucial in putting together all of the different conversations and the different iteratives that we've looked at when it comes to this language. And so if you'll entertain me, I'm just going to go through the history of this conversation that we've had with the city council. So at the January 30, 2024 city council meeting, the Yreka City Council passed a motion to direct the city attorney and city staff to develop ballot measure language for a sales tax measure. At the meeting, it was requested that draft language of the ballot measure be brought back for discussion prior to being brought to the city council for action. At the March 19, 2024 city council meeting, the following draft language was presented and council provided direction to staff to ask I think that's CTFDA, to review such language and after such review, bring back resolutions and draft ordinance for consideration to place such measure on the future ballot. And at that time, we were looking at this particular version. To maintain and improve essential city services, including local firefighting and emergency medical response, hire and train firefighters, upgrade, replace aging firefighting safety equipment, life-saving tools in an outdated firehouse, and support police, senior, and youth recreation and other city services. Shall an ordinance be adopted to impose a 1% sales tax, providing approximately $2.4 million annually for general government use until ended by voters, with independent audits and all funds staying local. This elicited some level of conversation based off of the general sales tax language. And then ultimately there were some questions from council as to more specific language when it came to the fire department. And so on March 25, 2024, the Yreka Fire Department, at the conclusion of a regularly scheduled training meeting, voted unanimously to recommend that the following language be presented for a proposed 1% sales tax measure. To maintain and improve essential city services, including local firefighting and emergency medical response, fire. And so there's obviously some verbiage in here that you guys would have to talk about this. There's some grammatical errors, but ultimately this is what your fire department is advocating that they would like to see. Fire and train firefighters, upgrade, replace aging firefighting safety equipment, life-saving tools, and outdated fire station. Shall an ordinance be adopted to impose a 1% sales tax, providing approximately $2.4 million annually for general government use until ended by voters, with independent audits and all funds staying local. And so you'll see as part of your packet, you'll have on page, a little bit difficult here, on page 221, you'll have the letter from Chief Lemos as to this particular language, and that is the first choice that the volunteer firefighters would like to see on the ballot if the city council were to move forward, and only if it were considered that were a general sales tax verbiage of a 50% plus one. So in the alternative, YFD has proposed the following special tax language as their second choice. So if for some reason, in their eyes, if the council could not support this, or if this was not considered general with our attorney, then they are saying they would like you to consider the following option as a special, which is the 2/3 plus 1 vote. That would be as reads: to maintain and improve local firefighting and emergency medical response, hire and train fire personnel, and upgrade, replace aging firefighting safety equipment, life-saving tools, and an outdated fire station, shall an ordinance be adopted to impose a 1% sales tax, providing approximately $2.4 million annually for general government use until ended by voters, with independent audits and all funds staying local. So with this new information from the Yreka Fire Chief and the Yreka volunteer firefighters, city staff wanted to discuss with the city council the opportunity to consider one of these options prior to circulating such language with CFTDA. Staff has corrected the new language proposed by YFD to address punctuation and grammar issues to read as follows. So this is still the number one desire from Yreka Fire Department. And it's a 50% plus 1 in their eyes. And this is how it reads: to maintain and improve essential city services, including local firefighting and emergency medical response, hire and train firefighters, upgrade, replace aging firefighting safety equipment, life-saving tools, and an outdated fire station, shall an ordinance be adopted to impose a 1% sales tax, providing approximately $2.4 million annually for general government use until ended by voters, with independent audits and all funds staying local. And so ultimately, I'm going to end it there and kind of lead off the conversation with you guys as just looking at, especially with the city attorney, Mr. Jared, on the line. We're also going to have Fire Chief Lemos come up and engage and explain how he went about kind of polling the volunteers. But ultimately, I think this is a good place to end on the staff report. The language that I just read is the ideal number one choice of your volunteer fire department if you were to move forward with a ballot initiative. In their eyes, it's a 50% plus 1, but we would need to validate that with our city attorney here tonight. And so without further ado, I'll let you guys kind of hear from the fire chief. And then I advise incorporating Mr. Jared into the conversation to hear his feedback on this verbiage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Chief Lemus. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thank you, Jason, for really what Jason said was, as far as how we got to this point. So through the process, I've kept the volunteers apprised, and all the officers and volunteers apprised of what's going on. And, we haven't had any, a lot of feedback. Basically, they like to be informed and like to have a voice, through me. And of course, BJ was at, a couple of the meetings there with me. So, our assistant chief. And when it came to the point where we needed to make a decision on where we're going to go with the language, I thought it was a perfect opportunity for them to weigh in and have some buy-in and some ownership of what's going to be, potentially a part of our department, a game changer for the department going forward. So with that, and based on the language that was proposed at that prior meeting, I explained to them the situation and wrote up the two different options that they had. And with that, gave them the options, and they voted unanimously for what we presented tonight. And that was the 50% plus 1 for the general tax. They wanted to see that. And then for any reason, should that not be something that could happen, then we would be fine with going with a special tax as stated in the by Mr. Ledbetter. So that's where we stand tonight. There have not been any changes. We did have a quorum that night. So I'm very confident that anybody that wasn't there would not, have any issues with it. And we'll present it again at our next general meeting. We did have one last week, but they ended up having to go to fire call, so they weren't, we actually didn't even have a meeting. We have to double up next time. So with that, I'll take any questions you have if that's appropriate.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. I'll go to City Council for questions from Chief Lemus, and then we'll go to Mr. Jared as well. Then we'll open up for public comment. Council members, any questions? Councilman McQuay.
Chief, you said you took a vote on the language. What was you said it was unanimous. How many firefighters, how many total, including yourself, were there when the vote was taken?
With myself, I believe there were 15 or 16, so I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but it was
Okay, and what do we have total now on fire?
20 at that time. I think we were, before we added everybody, I think it was 22.
Okay. And then this is just kind of probing to look ahead. If Measure H were to pass going forward with the 1% sales tax, if this sales tax would pass and go ahead, how would Measure H money then be allocated? Have you and Mr. Ledbetter had any talks on that, or?
Yeah, if you don't mind, if you can chime in here, Chief. Ultimately, I think when we've presented the slideshow, and very thankful for Chief Lemos, we were on the slideshow tour educating the public as to the issues within the fire department. When I go into my slides after the chief, we kind of showcase how $2.4 million is not going to bring the ideal, and I forget the NFPA. Is that the overarching kind of that sets compliance and standards for the state of California for firefighting, or is that
It's national,
national?
but it's national.
Okay, so there's a standard, right? And so when Chief Lemos went around and we were started to work with the engineers to design the station, they had kind of the standards, and they needed feedback from Chief Lemos as to what's the ideal department look like. And, you just go to those standards and you start to build out your department. And when we looked at that, it was an annual cost just on staffing of over $4.6 million. And so ultimately, when we're looking at debt servicing, possibly a new fire hall, we know that a $15 million build is $750,000. We know that a $23 million build is on a 40-year loan with a 3.875 is roughly $1.1 million, a little bit north of that. So I guess the point is that even on a 1% sales tax, that is not the ideal solution for the department. And it is a solution that exists that we think substantially increases our capacity and our ability to provide service with this increase of medical calls over the last 30 years. And so ultimately, we would retain Measure H, which is roughly $300,000 annually, just as it is currently used, thereby utilizing the funding in a fashion that would really stand up some paid staff, would stand up debt servicing a new fire hall, and then Measure H would continue to be utilized for the rigs. And I believe the last time I spoke to Chief about a replacement of the ladder truck, you're looking at $1 to $1.5 million to replace that. So we currently have about $1 million set aside in that fund, but ultimately there's a 10-year replacement plan that Chief and some prior volunteers put together, which really is just constantly replacing equipment, and that $300,000 from Measure H would consistently and continuously still be utilized for that, unless the city council directed us otherwise.
Thank you, City Manager Ledbetter, and thank you, Chief Lemos, and I appreciate hearing from the troops.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that tonight. That's very important, I think, to the public.
I agree.
Right, thank you. No questions? No questions, Councilman Davis? Okay, all right. I don't have any questions as well. Mr. Jared, good evening. Do you have any thing to add or would like to weigh in on the topic?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The staff report shows 6 versions of language there, and I just wanted to clarify what those various versions are. The versions 2 and 3 are the verbiage that was put forth by the fire department in the letter that's an attachment. And so there were a few grammatical and spelling and typo errors in there. Those were cleaned up, and it's versions 4 and 5 that would be ready to go forth for review from here on out, if that is the council's choice to proceed with those versions. Of course, the underline and strike through in those would be scrubbed, but that's the verbiage. Those were just included to show the changes, that no one was slipping one by here or anything like that. Want to be very transparent on what every word is in those versions. And then the final version, number 6, that was to demonstrate the change from the what's called the general law or general tax version that was originally put forward into the general tax version that the fire department is now putting forward.
Okay. Thank you. I will,
I think I think just for clarification purposes, if we can just hear from Mr. Jarrett, if he's content with this idea of version 4, I believe it is. Yes, version 4, as far as is that a general tax? I think that's a real important question to just validate with your attorney before you go to public comment.
I mean, the primary item there that needs to stay in is shown on page 220 at the top of the page, where it says for general government use. And it's clear by this that this is not going to be dedicated to fire or emergency medical response, that it is to improve all city services. And that would include local firefighting and emergency response. And it would be to include these other items of training firefighters to upgrade safety equipment, life-saving tools, and station. But by its very nature, a general tax cannot be dedicating funds to one specific use. The second, or version 5, does dedicate that only to firefighting use, and that would be the higher voting requirement. So to answer the question, version 4, yes, that would be a general government use. It would be to improve city services in general.
okay. Council, have any questions after Mr. Jared's comment regarding that?
Version 6, was that a general or a dedicated fund?
I can answer that, Mr. Mayor. 6, I think I can answer that. Let me just validate that.
20.
Why don't I take that one, Jason?
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, version 6 is to show the comparison of what was removed from the original version, version 1, and what was removed through versions 2 and 4. So that strike through and support police, senior, youth, recreation, and other city services, that was removed in the fire department's version of this.
So version 6 is showing the original verbiage of the 50% plus 1 taking into consideration what Chief Lemos and the volunteers voted on, that their number one choice.
Right.
And then showing how we've struck those lines out. And now version 6, if you were to read it with the line struck out, is the same as version 4. It's a general.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Now I will go to public comment for questions. I shouldn't say public comment. I'll go to public for questions, I should say.
Lorenzo Love. It doesn't matter how many times you put fire on the ballot measure. If it's for general tax, it goes to general government use. Let me read you some of the things that you said you plan on using a general tax for during the March 3 meeting. Municipal activities across the board. Senior and youth recreation. For the city in general. Madrone hospice. Programs that end up getting run through the YMCA. Because ultimately the city council now and the city council in the future will have the general, will have the ability to utilize this funding for the general fund. Your potholes, your parks, your administrative staff, use recreation again. It could be utilized in a number of different fashions. Everybody can read this themselves at the Siskiyou Media Council YouTube page, March 3. Some of that money might go to the fire department. I assume some would. This is all important stuff, but it's not for the fire department. We can't trust you to send all this money to the fire department. You already stated you're not going to. You've already given away some money right here just a few minutes ago. The only way to ensure at all the tax increase goes to the fire department and only the fire department is with a special tax measure, version 5. We won't be deceived by a deceptive wording of a general tax ballot measure. Regardless of what it says, a general tax with a 50% approval will only send a portion of the money to the fire department. Only a special tax ballot measure with two-thirds approval will send all the money to the fire department. If you want this to pass, make it a special tax ballot measure.
Thank you.
Greetings, City Council. I'm Henry Lancaster of 504 North Street. And I had some ideas about the fire department's tax. Honestly, I feel as we are the county capital, we need to set some guidance and leadership for all the other cities that are no doubtedly watching us right now for guidance on this. And I feel honestly we should have it double that tax so that we can help protect all the other cities around here by helping upgrade the airport, because everybody always comes here with everything and uses it to help fight all the major fires in the whole region. And I also feel some of the other tax money should go to the fire department's museum to help keep it running. Because if we're going to be taxing something for the fire department, we may as well get an employee to actually help keep it running and open for the public. At least that was like some of my ideas, that we could use it to help the money to help get more public interest to actually want to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. I will close public comment at this time and go back to the floor. Or Mr. Ledbetter, what is
Yeah, so
asking
just
for us now?
yeah, so there's no ultimately, if the city council is to put any tax at any moment in time onto any ballot at any point, it's a process that requires an ordinance. And so that's ultimately a first and second reading. We're not discussing any of that. We are just wanting, there's really no vote, but is there some level of consensus that we should ultimately move forward, making sure that this is appropriate with the state, and then ultimately, at some point, staff would then know that this was the verbiage we would be bringing back for the council to vote on at a future meeting.
Okay,
And so I'll just pose it. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'll just pose it one more time, is that in your packet, you have this, the staff memo report, but you also have it on page 221, essentially. You're looking at these two different options. The volunteer fire department got together, unanimously voted that they wanted to see a general sales tax, and they have chosen that and made those verbiage changes. And they're stating if the verbiage can't be this, then they are asking, hey, will the city council then do a special tax with this other verbiage as their second choice?
thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Councilman McCoy?
Yes, I want to thank our public that came up and spoke in regards to this. This has been something that was my passion when I first ran. And unfortunately, when you run for city council, you're very naive and you think you're going to change the world. And you find out the government moves real slow. You also find out that you're only 1/5 of a person when you get on city council. And that's what I am. I am 1/5. I am, however, I have pushed Mr. Chief Lemus repeatedly in my 5 years on this. We've talked a lot about it. I'm sure he gets tired of talking to me about it. But I have pushed him and pushed him and pushed him, and I am so excited that we do have a vote from his staff that talks about what they feel their needs are, because we have talked about what we think the city's needs are for fire, but this is not what we do for a living. So I want to thank you, Jerry. And so I am in support of what the chief has talked about, which is a general tax. This council nor past councils have rated the general fund. That's one of the things we get criticized for, that we haven't rated the general fund and pulled out $1 million or $2 million here to fund this or to fund that. We may fund small things, but we don't rate the general fund for it. I don't see us rating the general fund for, and again, I don't see us cutting off our nose to spite our face by building a fire hall that we're servicing at a rate of $1 million a year for 40 years. And then city council says, don't fund it. Just let's spend that $1 million somewhere else. And then we just let the fire hall go. I don't see that happening. Hasn't happened with the police hall. I don't believe, has it, Chief? I mean, we have funded that, and we even gone in and made improvements. I know even before you came, we had to make improvements as soon as we opened for ice and water and just all kinds of stuff. So I will stop my soliloquy now and say that I do, as a council member, support the general tax that the chief of the fire department has presented to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. Councilman Baker?
Thank you. Chief Lemus, thank you so much for this information. I really appreciate it. And I believe that I stated at the last meeting that this was discussed, that after talking with several people in the community, they would prefer to have a special tax, just for that guarantee that they know that they're voting for support of the fire department. And so what I would like to see happen is, because we're not voting on placing this on the ballot yet, I would like to see the paperwork created for both the general tax as well as the special tax, so that we don't gum up the works and time is believe it or not, time is getting short to place this on the ballot. So that's what I'd like to see.
Thank you, Councilman Baker.
The verbiage for both a general tax and a special tax for us to then take action on.
Any questions or comments, Councilman Davis?
Well, I'm kind of in agreement with both, Mr. McCoy and Ms. Baker. I would like to see the verbiage also, but I kind of, from day one, I've tended towards a general tax, and I haven't decided to change yet, so. But I'm open to suggestions at any time. But that's kind of where I am with that. This has been, and the reason that I say that is that we've got 6 things here on the table in front of us. And I think we do need to get it down to one of each so that we can make the decision, make a good decision. You know, I mean, we're just kind of batting this stuff around and I think Mr. Jared needs to kind of step in and, you know, do his lawyer thing and get the words right so the state of California is happy, we're happy, and we can move forward. Just talking about it, we've talked about it a lot. It's time for some action. Again, Mr. Mayor, that's my.
All right, thank you. So just to clarify, that's not 6, it's 2. Those were just ones that were crossed out with verbiage. So it's 2 down to 2 that the fire department's requested that we put on, not 6 items. So just to clarify for everybody. Chief Lemus, I just want to say thank you for going to the department and having them engaged in feedback and involved in the process, because you and your staff, they're the ones who live it every day and are the ones who are out there serving our citizens, you know, whether it be medical or fire or what have you. They're the ones who are giving all to the citizens. We are not sitting down there with them and going through it and going through the motions and going through the, you know, everything they go through to you know, protect our citizens. So thank you for engaging them and thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. I support either one that they have brought to us, whatever one works as far as what Mr. Jared suggests and what the state is going to allow. So I support their feedback and the recommendation on how they would like to move forward from the fire department.
Mr. Mayor, this is Jason the Ledbetter, the city manager. So I will, with this information, basically we will submit both versions that Mr. Jared has cleaned up for us to the state to validate that they would accept both of them, one as a general and one as a special. And then I think that it's just a good practice, I think, from Councilmember Baker that then we prepare 2 different ordinances and then that we have them both available for discussion when we do bring them forward for the first reading.
Perfect.
And so that would conclude this item.
All right. Thank you, everybody. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let me get back off of page 220 or whatever it is. Okay, so we do not have no public hearing. We go to item number 10 for new business, city manager. This is for the Siskiyou Food Bank. This agenda title, Citizen of the Year Banquet on February 6, 2024. The Yreka City Council voted 5-0 in favor in partnering with a local nonprofit to bring back the Yreka Citizen of the Year event. The City of Yreka staff placed a post on the City of Yreka Facebook page asking for nonprofits to inquire with the City of Yreka if they had any interest in organizing the Yreka Citizen of the Year event. City staff received 1 letter of interest from the Siskiyou Community Food Bank. Mr. Ledbetter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yreka City Council. Once again, this is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager for the city of Yreka. So just to pick up here where the mayor left off is essentially a fluid proposal from the Siskiyou Community Food Bank is attached in your agenda packets, but really hinges on the formation of a Citizen of the Year committee to be formed to create the finalized proposal for consideration at a future City of Yreka City Council meeting. Many particulars will still need to be determined, really, but a list of facts concerning this proposal are as follows. The event would take place at the Yreka Community Center. The staff for the event would all be volunteers. The dinner would have a master of ceremonies to keep the event moving in a timely manner. And the event will include a dinner. The event will have a raffle component that benefits the Siskiyou Community Food Bank. Right now, we're not sure if there is a fiscal impact to the city, and ultimately, that's why we're advocating if you do want to move forward with investigating the bringing back the Citizen of the Year in conjunction with the Siskiyou Community Food Bank, that we really need a committee put together that ultimately would hammer out some of these details, and we would come back to City Council to determine if there was some funding mechanism required by the city or requested by the city. And so what we're looking for tonight, I'm going to give a brief presentation after this, but the recommended motion would be a motion to approve the formation of the Yreka Citizen of the Year Committee, consisting of 2 Yreka City Council members, the Siskiyou County District 4 Supervisor, and then 2 representatives of the Siskiyou Community Food Bank. And Ms. Clerk, if you don't mind pulling up the presentation. Thank you very much, Cindy. And you can just move on to the next slide. So Ms. Prohaska, your city clerk, and myself, we met with the Siskiyou Community Food Bank team. We had a couple meetings and we came up with just, there's in your packet, you'll see the proposal from the Community Food Bank. It was mentioned in the past when Mr. Kaeg had advocated to bring this item back that there was kind of like the standard book that the chamber used to have on how they did the Citizen of the Year event. And we had District 4 Supervisor Ogren in the crowd that night. She came up and she spoke at the podium that she felt she still had that when she was a part of the chamber. Unfortunately, she does not. Mr. Kaeg does not either. So we don't really have the historical information on how the Citizen of the Year took place. And so we have kind of just worked together to hammer out some of the details. And I'm going to read those to you here once again. And so these are the facts of the proposal. The community center would be the location. So the Citizen of the Year event will be held at the Yreka Community Center. And we would expect, if that were to happen, that there would be no charge to the Siskiyou Community Food Bank. That this would be an all volunteer staff that would work this event. So the kitchen staff, the wait staff, the cleaning staff, the bar staff, etc., would be all volunteer. And that would be kind of part of the purpose of the event, be to try to reinvigorate volunteerism here locally. We know it's a national problem, but to really invigorate the idea of volunteering again. There would need to be a master of ceremony in order to stay on the agenda and the timeline for the event. So we would need to have the committee determine on who was going to be the master of ceremony, and then they would be able to have guest speakers kind of mixed in. This would be a dinner. That would be the focal point of the event. So the event will host a dinner menu, and that would have to really be determined by this hypothetical committee. Next slide. Just as the Yreka Fire Department volunteers kind of hold their dinner, it seems like a great opportunity here with what the Siskiyou Community Food Bank does and the services that they really not only supply Yreka, but the county as a whole. And so ultimately, we think there'd be an opportunity here for a raffle. And so with the proceeds really going right back to the Siskiyou Community Food Bank, that then really kind of gives right back to the community and those in need. The Siskiyou Community Food Bank fundraiser, not only will the Citizen of the Year event be back and operating in Yreka, but all the proceeds of this event would go right back to the Siskiyou Community Food Bank. So right in line with the raffle idea, you know, the tickets and all of that stuff hypothetically would be going right back into the coffers of the food bank, and then they would be able to supply those in need with with the food that they supply. The nominees, we really need the committee to determine what categories would exist. I know that in the past there were multiple categories. It was like business of the year, not just citizen of the year. And then ultimately, we really think that this whole thing hinges on getting kind of some folks together to make some decisions and determine what the needs really are. And so we would advocate tonight, if you do want to move forward with this proposal, that's what you're voting on tonight, is the formation of the committee to sit down. I would engage kind of as the secretary for you guys in order to draw up your plans that you were to discuss that needed to come back in front of the city council if a monetary donation was requested ultimately. So next slide. So then we would have awards. The committee would determine how many awards and for which categories, how and where votes will be cast, how votes will be counted, what the awards will be, and where they will be ordered. We would assume we would try to do that locally with Cliff's Trophies. Menu, the committee would determine what the dinner menu should consist of, and thereby determining the cost per person and the cost for tickets. I mean, ultimately, it was kind of enjoyable to just kind of game plan and talk about this. I know that we don't have, one idea that was thrown out there was to have a crab feed. And for a minute, that sounded like just a wonderful idea because we know that brings out a lot of people. But then ultimately, it was like, well, maybe that's not the best idea for a food choice that evening. And so that's why we're kind of advocating, if you move forward, to have this committee put together. And then the agenda and how the evening were to play out, and then ultimately really the date of this event. And so we're here tonight to have you ask questions. Ultimately, the five, Mr. Kegg's absent tonight, but kind of advocated for us to explore the idea of Citizen of the Year coming back. This was the only nonprofit that came forward that was interested in possibly putting the Citizen of the Year on. And so I will advocate, Laura, if you don't mind coming up here and answering the questions that the city council may have before they go to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter.
Thank you. Laura Leach, Siskiyou Community Food Bank. Got questions?
Any questions from the council at this point?
Laura, how did
Quite.
how did the group arrive at the committee, at the members of the committee that would sit?
So at our second meeting, I had a little outline and then of course, Mr. Ledbetter said that, we need to please you with this. So, the best way to do that is to have the involvement of the council members. So, and then in fairness, we are in the county. And so then we threw in, well, let's get a board of supervisor as well. And then I'm open to city, additional members if you think that we need somebody particularly, on that. So everything's kind of fluid. It all depends on what you guys would like.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, Mr. McCoy, just to chime in, really, that's fluid. We think the committee is imperative, and we know there's a lot of passion on the council and crossover between having served on the chamber. And I think people have this idea historically, this is the way it used to be, and we know that drives a lot of feeling. And so in order to mitigate kind of issues that may arise with the committee that may not have any of that historical relevance, we thought it imperative that we include some council members so that when we did bring, if it does move forward, if it were to come back to you, that we've already considered maybe some of the things people were thinking of the past. But ultimately, if you do move forward, the only thing that we really truly tonight, I believe both agree on, Laura, is that it really requires a committee. in order to mitigate this idea that it's just one person making the decisions and then having people kind of feel let down. And so that's fluid. You guys can change that motion if you wanted to move forward to have a totally different mix of people. Doesn't matter to us.
No, I agree with the committee. I'm just looking at, well, I won't, I'm not gonna talk about it right now. I'm looking at the mix of the committee and I think that it needs to be changed up.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy.
I think you've done a good
Oh.
job. Too.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Councilman Baker.
Thank you. And Ms. Leach, I want to thank you for bringing this proposal forward. And I just have to say that you amaze me because you are always coming up with such innovative ideas to support your community food bank. And you have so many different programs going at any given time. And I'm amazed that it's just one person and your volunteers that do it. And so I just want to thank you for taking this on. I look forward to it and would love to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Councilman Davis.
The event was really fun in the past, and I can see that it's gonna be fun again. It's a kind of a tough selection process to get into they had a lot of different categories, as I recall. So I look forward to this coming off, and good luck.
Thank you. So I hadn't been to any of the past ones here. So if we find a book to guide us, that's great. If we have to write our own book, that's great. It's whatever we need to do to get the job done.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Davis. All right. Well, again, thank you for stepping forward with your organization, and I'm bummed that Councilman Kaeg isn't here, that he's the one who brought it before us with the idea to bring it back again. So I'm, sorry that he's not here tonight to participate, and but hopefully moving forward that he can be involved with anything that he can help, because I know he was involved and really wanted to come back. And Mr. Levitt, do you remember when was the last year this event was held, or does anybody remember?
I don't recall. I don't know, Miss Prohaska. I think you had found some verbiage somewhere, but off the top of my head, I don't. It was pre-2018, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure. I think we do have some documentation. I think we were able to find on the Siskiyou Daily News Facebook page, we Googled and we found some video of the last one that existed. So I can report back to you guys or send an email out with that information at a later date, but I don't know
Just
with
curious.
certainty.
So it's been a few years. Okay.
Yes.
Hello. The research that I did find was 2018 was the last time it was held.
Okay. Thank you. So it's been a while. I know it always been a successful event and is always an exciting event. And then for a business or a citizen or a nonprofit or volunteer, whatever have you, that are recognized, it's always brings, I think, some good things to our city of recognizing the people who are going above and beyond that a lot of people don't know that are out there, like your organization of volunteers that are working every day for the good of, whether it be the county or just in the city of Yreka alone. So I think it's a great thing, and I hope it comes together, and then we can form this and bring it back. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then I'll go to just hang close in case citizens have any questions for you. All right, I will open up for public comment regarding the Citizen of the Year banquet and the proposal from the Siskiyou Food Bank. Okay, thumbs up. Okay, so no public comment. All right. All right. Thank you, Laura. We appreciate it. Okay. So the recommend city council action is the motion to approve the formation of the Yreka Citizen of the Year committee consisting of, well, as it says, consisting of 2 Yreka City Council members, the Siskiyou County District 4 Supervisor, and 2 representatives of the Siskiyou Community Food Bank. Oh, do you want to go back for discussion? Okay. So we're gonna go back for discussion, actually. Councilman Coy has.
Yeah, my only discussion, I don't have any difficulty with the committee. I think the committee is good. And I understand that we're trying to include our District 4 supervisor. However, our District 4 supervisor isn't involved a lot in the city of Yreka and what goes on. And I think that perhaps that slot, and I'm going to be very honest, could be better served with someone else in maybe from private sector or something like that. If you'd like to talk to me about it, I'd be glad to discuss it, but I'm not going to discuss it over the dais. They do a wonderful job, but they're not a member of this Yreka community, so to speak. Thank you. So I would vote no if it came up as it is today on the committee, only for that reason.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. So are you requesting a
Strike that.
just a change, just maybe a change in saying committee to be determined, or you just want to strike that one position? Or
Well,
when?
Put to be determined. I guess you'd have to ask Laura. I don't know. She may disagree with me.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I was just thinking of who else could represent, people here. So I think we're saying the same thing. That was just in mind. But, a business owner or anybody else from the public sector is fine. You need to.
You also have two over there that may disagree with me. So
Yeah, I was gonna go to them. Any thoughts or comments regarding that? Maybe just saying to be committee to be determined, but to move forward with the formation of the committee?
Yeah, I would support moving forward with the formation of the committee with
To be determined.
the position that listed
Do
the
we-
county supervisor as a position to be determined.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Councilor Dave? Okay. So we'll just change the wording. Sounds like Mr. Ledbetter are just striking the Siskiyou County District 4 Supervisor and put at large or DDP department.
Citizen of the city of Yreka. Put that, you can pick wherever you want.
Does that sound okay?
Yes. Also, I would recommend that we go back through Channel 4. All the stuff is a weed, I think, but it used to be filmed. And if we find nothing else, we can at least see how many different positions they gave away. Because they used to film it.
Okay, so it will read, so the motion before you now is the motion to approve the formation of Yreka Citizen of the Year committee consisting of 2 Yreka City Council members, a position at large to be determined, and 2 representatives of the Siskiyou County Food Bank. What are the wishes of the council?
I'll make the motion.
Have the motion that's amended from Councilman Baker,
I'll second the motion, Councilman McCoy.
second for Councilman McCoy. I'll do roll call. Councilman McCoy.
Oh, I'm
Roll call,
sorry.
Councilman.
I apologize.
Oh, sorry, I went to you first because we used to go to Dwayne. Councilman Davis,
Aye.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
and I, Mayor Middleton. The motion passes 4-0. All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to item number 11. This is city manager and staff report. City manager and staff may make brief announcements or reports at this time. Mr. Ledbetter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yreka City Council, once again, Jason Ledbetter, the city manager for the city of Yreka. So really, it's been the Chief Lemos and Ledbetter tour here. And so on Thursday, April 11th, Fire Chief Lemos and I attended the Siskiyou Conservative Republicans meeting in Montague to give our presentation about the fire department. Extremely well received at that event. Chief Lemos and I will be presenting the same info to Rotary Wednesday, that's tomorrow at lunch. And then again to the Democrats of Siskiyou via Zoom tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. On Monday, April 22nd, Chief Lemos and I will take this tour to the high school, and we'll be in Jess Bray's government econ class at YHS, giving the seniors this presentation. It's a good segue. Most of them will be voting come November, and ultimately it's just a good opportunity. We try to get in there once a year just to have some engagement with the kids. On Friday, April 5th, Chief Lemos and I gave the fire presentation to City Hall staff and Public Works staff here in the chamber, just because we realized that they could better understand and then be able to answer questions from the public. That also went really well. On Friday, April 5th, I toured the casino and the hotel expansion at Rain Rock with council members Baker and Davis. And then we immediately raced over to Carnegie for the groundbreaking ceremony for the Siskiyou Economic Development Council, which was a pretty nice event. And then finally, we do have a private developer holding a public meeting to discuss a concept that they have at the corner of Payne and Oregon to add housing units. This meeting will take place Tuesday, April 30th at the Yreka Community Center at 5:30 p.m. I have sent flyers out, and we will post these flyers on Facebook. And then we also have some flyers available here about this meeting. Once again, that is Tuesday, April 30th at the Yreka Community Center at 5:30 p.m. to hear a kind of a town hall meeting from this developer on what their plan is. They're looking for community feedback at this time for their concept. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rybetter. Chief Gilman.
Council, Chief Gilman, Yreka Police Department. Just wanted to give you an upgrade. So fentanyl's been a problem in Yreka. It's Siskiyou County. It's a huge problem. So we've been working on it for several months now. And just wanted to let you know, at least initial report I can give, as we have charged one person with homicide regarding a fentanyl overdose death. So we've served many search warrants. I think we're up to 40 search warrants that we have served so far. We have a lot of charges going. We keep it quiet. We don't publicly announce it. We don't announce our future, but I talked to task force today. We thought it was important just to let you guys know that we are out there doing it. We do recognize it's the problem. We're one of the only, at the time it was 2 when we started this. I think there's like 5 cities in the state of California that have arrested people for homicide regarding selling fentanyl to someone who passes away from an overdose. We are going to continue to do it. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to make it a mission to try and get fentanyl out of Yreka. So it has been very successful so far.
Thank you so much, Chief. Appreciate that. All right. Chief Lemus again.
Well, I thought it'd probably be appropriate to let you know, in addition to all the appointments that Jason and I have been keeping, tomorrow we're having an additional fall prevention seminar. We have that we've done it once before. It's through the YMCA and some other county agencies, PSA2 Area Agency on Aging, Public Health, some folks from Fairchild, and they all get together and talk to some of the elderly folks and whatnot, some that are participating in the YMCA programs, and it helps them become more agile, more flexible, and it prevents them from having falls, which is directly related to some of the issues that we brought up with some of our folks that are having issues with us showing up at their house all the time because they fall and can't help themselves to get back up. So that's a really positive thing. So hopefully we'll see the results of that down the road and won't have people being injured, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really a good thing. So we want to keep supporting that. In addition to that, this Saturday, we'll have the firefighter of the year dinner at the community center, and we'll have Manuel Rambunga and Carl Varick will be our two recipients. So if you want to get tickets, let Janet Jones at Klamath River Fire know. You can let me know, and I can see if you would like to have, if they have any tickets left. The food is always fantastic. It's Ray's from McLeod, I think. Raymond's. Yeah, super good food. So, and it's a nice event. I get a lot of dignitaries from throughout the North State. So, and to honor all the people who have done such a good job throughout the year. No, I had one more thing. Now I'm drawing a blank. We're having an open house on May 4th at Fire Station from 10 to 12. Just a real simple, let people come in through the museum and wander around, and we'll have some static displays there with some information on how to harden their homes with, siding and, dry landscaping, things of that nature to kind of help make their homes and landscaping fire safe. And let the kids, we give them little plastic hats that that Cindy ordered for us, and kind of let them kind of get acclimated to the fire hall and have a good time. And we'll have refreshments, coffee and donuts and so forth. So if you guys have grandchildren or kids that want to come by and take part, we'd love to have you. So that's all I had.
What time is that?
10 to 12 on Saturday, May 4th.
10 to 12. Okay.
So
And
we're
the-
doing more than just going out and talking to the other people. I mean, we're staying pretty busy with additional things and there's a list that's seems like it grows every day, but, and I will have that information for you shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happening faster than I thought. So
Oh,
just have to massage out the numbers. So it should be probably this week.
Thank you.
So you're welcome.
And then I think it happened before or after last council meeting. So we did have, unfortunately, a pretty tragic structure fire, correct, in the city of Yreka?
Yeah, that was one of the toughest fires we've had to put out. It was a difficult one, but thankfully the residents were okay. They got out okay, and yeah, it was a tough one. So we're always glad when we get the report that everybody's out, and that was true. It was the case when we got there. But yeah, it's never easy. Never gets easier.
Right. Well,
Okay.
we're glad everybody's okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right. End of my report.
All right. Thank you. Okay, I'll go to council members for any reports they may have. I'll start with you, Councilman Baker.
Thanks.
Might as well.
Thanks. I just have some information I'd like to provide, as well as I have just a couple of requests. So I'm just gonna start by saying that I received numerous complaints. Both my phones lit up about the renaming of the former Gold Rush days. And I did a little bit of research on it, and the information that I found, though, actually was in the early days of this event. It was actually known by several different things. So it's kind of evolved historically. It was, I believe it was Miner Day at one point in time, and then it was Pioneer Days. So I'm only mentioning that because I was told by extremely emotional people that it's always been Gold Rush Days. And so in recent years, it has been. And I am just kind of dancing around the fact that my guess is that it is too late to reconsider the event of this, the name of this event for this year. But I would really like to revisit this before next year's event. People were just unhappy because they didn't know about it. They didn't know about the renaming specifically. And I was expecting a lot of people here tonight, but so enough said about that. But I would like to revisit that at some point in the future. And as Mr. Ledbetter said, Councilman Davis and I enjoyed a tour of the casino, the new additions, and that's really, really impressive. And then we also did attend the groundbreaking at Carnegie. And I would just like to congratulate the mayor for your comments. Nice job. And Mr. Ledbetter, I really appreciated the history that you brought into talking about the Carnegie buildings and how they came about. And so I really appreciate that.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
And I appreciate Mr. Ledbetter, you and Chief Lemus going out and about in the community. I think that that's so important. And I'm looking forward to bringing a couple of my grandchildren to the open house on May 4th. Let me see. I have to read my scribbled notes here. I'd like to schedule, if possible, the comms committee, get that scheduled. And I think that initially we had agreed that it was going to be about a year-long commitment. So I think that we're maybe coming to the end of that, and would like to visit some of our accomplishments and then bring a report to the council as a whole. Then Mr. Ledbetter, you were the one who actually mentioned this, but I'm just going to bring this up. I really would love for us to go on a tour of the Siskiyou Community Food Bank, and specifically maybe at a day where we could assist in either distributing food or putting together food baskets. And
Absolutely. I will contact Laura immediately after this meeting.
anyway, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did go with Mr. Ledbetter and Mr. Lemus to the meeting in Montague at the Conservative Republicans, and their presentation was very fine. They had a good receptive audience, and it was really excellent. The low shelter dorm that Colleen and Mr. Ledbetter and I did go, not by name, but by body too. And the Carnegie groundbreaking, we were involved in that also. The Gold Rush Days, I've been approached several times about the changing of the names. I came and was in business starting in 1984 here in Yreka. And the event that they changed to Gold Rush Days was called the Sidewalk Sales. And it was designed for the businesses downtown. And then at a later time, with a change of chamber director, they decided to spice it up a little bit to Gold Rush Days. And that's when they started bringing in the black powder shooters and the shootouts down on the Minor Street and stuff. But before that, it was just a shopping event for the local merchants. And I was one of those. And it was on Friday and Saturday. And when they changed it to Gold Rush Days, pardon me, the second day went away. It was a one-day event. I think it was on Saturday. So the Gold Rush Days is a nice name, but it's been, like Colleen has, Mrs. Baker has said, it has changed several different times along the way. But that's what it is now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Councilman McCoy.
I want to start out by thanking YPD and Officer Elliott. I have worked with them before when we have homeless people that want to go home. I've had the pleasure of working with you now 3 times on that, and you've been wonderful, and you're helping another person that I've referred to Officer Elliott, and and I would drive them to Medford, to take them up if they need it. But I want to thank you for what you do. When I tell people, I think, oh, they will. I go, yeah, they'll help you. YPD's, you want to go home, you tell them you want to go home. They're not going to ask you because it wouldn't be fair. I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about Lola.
Good.
I want to talk about Lola because my League of Local, what do we call it? League of Local
Cities.
Agencies. We met in Mount Shasta and City Park. It's always beautiful there. That little the little meeting house they have is absolutely gorgeous inside. It's the headwaters of the Sacramento River. If you've never been there, you need to try it. It's one of the most heavily trafficked places according to Mount Shasta people in the city of Mount Shasta. But Chief Lemus, you were paid quite a compliment there because we have our new rapid attack wildfire vehicle. Well, Montague was happy to say that they're keeping up with Yreka and that they have purchased one also. And they said we have the newest, most technologically advanced firefighting apparatus in all the county. And of course, we all kind of went, well, don't we have that same one? Well, yeah, you guys do, but apparently theirs is a month or two newer. So you are to be commended for, for really, that's a great vehicle for fighting fires in and around Yreka and in the areas. So, Quentin Gaddy, who we probably all know, we've worked with him, with the city. I got a nice text from him and then I spoke with him last night in a Zoom meeting. Quentin had the opportunity to meet with number 2 at Caltrans in Sacramento. For those of you who know Quentin, he is a no-nonsense kind of guy. And he let Caltrans, you also probably know that Quentin's the one that worked with the city to get the grants to help people that have lost money, businesses. He let Caltrans know very, very nicely that he didn't feel the communication with businesses on Main Street or any that were being blocked has been very good at all during the 2.5 years of this project. It was very nice. He's not a pushy guy, but he got also some information. The guy said, well, I guess we need to do better. And he says, I'll have to work on that. So this guy isn't Region 2. He's state of California. He's a number 2 man. So, and then finally, well, 2 things. Being a Scotsman, myself, descendant of Scots, Andrew Carnegie was a great man. You all know he was a Scotsman, and there's a nice book that you can pick up if you ever want to, how Scotland saved the world. It's all about the important people in the world that were Scottish. They have a very heightened sense of themselves, but it's nice to see the Carnegie Library staying with us. I've seen them throughout California, from the Mexican border up to the islands up there in Washington, and I'm glad to see that. And we were well represented. I apologize, I wasn't there. We were well represented. And then finally, and this is just maybe an ask, because for my first 3.5 years on council, all we heard about was water, dams. Well, Kiewit has now pulled out. Kiewit has pulled out of the dams. FERC has shut down the drilling. And there's going to be a 60-day shutdown and then a 90-day period for I don't know if any of you have read this yet. From FERC has got a 90-day period after the 60 days is over for question and answer. And I would like to get, not because I'm trying to be nasty, but because I'm not quite understanding it. If you can get any kind of information on that for us, or somebody come in and wants to talk to us about it. But Kiewit has pulled totally out of the job. So, and Jason, I didn't mean to put nothing on your plate, but, or, tell me who to call and I'll call them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. All
I
right.
didn't mean to take all your.
That's
I
okay.
have to tell Jerry, because Jerry's, they envy you, Jerry. The rest of the county envies you and the department, I'm telling you.
And just to clarify, we really didn't say anything. We just kind of stood there or sat there and kind of looked with wide eyes. We did not make any comments. Because we're pretty proud of our department and our equipment and the way you guys keep our apparatus. So we just remain silent. So, Paul was joking a little bit. We did not say anything. We were professional. But it was a great meeting. We learned a lot about the city of Mount Shasta and what they want to do with the Greenway and their city, and it's a long plan. It was like 30 years out, or if they can even do it, but it's that's their city. But it was interesting what they plan or want to do with their city downtown. So it's a ambitious plan, but it was interesting. So it was a great meeting. The next one I think is in Dunsmuir in July, third week of July. I think they're taking a couple weeks off since we're kind of running a little bit late due to some delays. So it'll be in Dunsmuir the next meeting. So hopefully everybody can attend. Carnegie was a great event. Well represented. So it'll be nice to see the old Carnegie Library and the old Warwick Police Department that was there for many, many moons. Come to new life and bring some exciting things to Minor Street. And I think that's just the beginning of hopefully the revitalization of Minor Street and what's yet to come for the future. So it's very exciting. It's going to be great. So I did I only received two phone calls regarding the name change of Gold Rush Days, and it has been, as I agree with the other council members, that I did research, and it hasn't always been Gold Rush Days. It's been changed, and I know change is hard. What I will say, whether if I agree with it or not, I'm going to say if I agree with the name change or if I don't. What I will say is what I'm grateful for is we had an organization that came through and wanted to do the event, whether it be whatever, Minor Street Days or Old Town Days, I don't know, whatever. We had an organization that stepped forward to have something downtown that brings citizens to our downtown merchants and brings some fun to our town. So I'm going to give them credit that we had one person wanted to do it. Had they don't want to do it, nobody's going to do it. So we won't have Gold Rush Days or Minor Street Days or Golden City Days, what have you. So I'm just thankful that someone stepped forward that still wanted to continue on and make it a change to make it revitalize it. Because when I was in Sacramento, Gold Rush Days shut down because it was going away. The attendance was low. Nobody wanted to learn about wagons and people dressed up and firing guns. It was dwindled. It was costing the city and the partners thousands and thousands of dollars, and they closed the whole old Sacramento down. And then it cost the businesses money because they had the streets closed, so no one get in there. So it was just a ghost town because nobody was attending the event. So they have gone away in other towns, unfortunately, because it is a part of history. But like I said, I'm grateful for the organization that's bringing it forward to have something downtown, and we will review it next year possibly and see how it goes this year if they are successful, and we'll review it next year. But we have heard from our citizens, and we will take it and we will learn. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else to report. So with that, I will wish everybody a good evening and thank you for coming. Have a good night. Meeting adjourned.
You guys